Welcome to the Onion Buns. So I'm going to do a react video today, but it's a really important topic. In the past, I guess probably about 5 years, so really since Carney came on the scene, behind the scenes anyway, Justin Trudeau has been heavily pushing his censorship. Now, he started off by basically buying CTV, CBC, Globe and Mail, all the mainstream media outlets. He made that $600 million slush fund that he updates every year, and he hands it out to select media outlets that carry water for the Liberals. And, at first there was outrage. Now most people seem to have either forgotten about it or just accepted it. I'm not one of most people. I find it absolutely atrocious, and I don't think media can properly operate in the confines of being paid by the government they're supposed to be reporting on. There's a conflict of interest there. But anyway, before we get to this, if you like my content, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to grow the channel, and the subscriptions and the likes help amazing. Also, if you do like the content, please share it. Sharing is the easiest way to get eyes on the product. It's like that old shampoo commercial. If I tell two friends and they each tell two friends and they each tell friends, it grows. And that's how it happens. So if you do like the content, please share it. It's a simple 1 second thing. Let other people decide if they like it. No pressure. All right, so I was watching YouTube videos. Every day I watch YouTube videos. And for the most part, I just watch them to get ideas and some great information. And I used this guy's video once before. It's Elev8. He does a fantastic job of exposing the Canadian government. My two go-to sources on YouTube are for Canadian politics are Elev8 and Moose on the Loose. And I will put their information into the description of the video. So if you want to go check out their stuff, go check out their stuff. They do a great job of holding the Canadian government to account on a daily basis. But I'm watching this video and it's too important of a topic to not show again, to try to get more eyes on this, because literally Carney, Trudeau's out now, so we're going to say Carney, the Liberals, the NDP and the Greens, they're trying to shut down social media. They don't like that they can't control the narrative. And that's what it's all about. Don't believe the BS that there's misinformation out there, because people are smart enough to, or well, most people, not all people, but most people are smart enough to figure out what's BS and what's not. Like personally, I don't watch CBC. I don't watch CTV. I see clips of them, but I don't actually watch or support the channels. I don't read the Toronto Red Star. I don't read the Globe and Mail. I don't watch MSNBC, CNN, or Fox News. They're all propaganda outlets. And anyone who's watched them with a working brain can tell they're propaganda outlets. But in Canada, the CTV, Globe and Mail, Global, and Toronto Red Star, they're all getting their share of that $600 million slush fund every year. And the CBC, as we know, gets $1.4 billion from the Liberals right now, and the Liberals want to increase it to $2.5 billion. So the Liberals are very intentionally trying to control the narrative of the media, what gets shown. And as you saw in the most recent Liberal candidate election candidacy, the media, they would not ask Mark Carney any tough questions. Like, everything they threw at him was softballs. They avoided topics. I just put up a picture telling you all the topics they avoided in the leadership debates that the media did not even mention. So you got to go to YouTube to find out about this, all the stuff that they're not telling you about. And now we're finding out that there is an intentional push to try to shut down YouTube, Facebook, Twitter in Canada. I suppose that includes Instagram. I don't use Instagram. I don't use Twitter. But yeah, so anyway, I thought this was a really important video by Elev8, and let's watch it, and I'll throw in my 2 cents when I feel it's worthy, but just watch what he has to say. This is really important stuff, in my opinion. This is an attack on our civil liberties and our democracy. It's an intentional attack, and it needs to be exposed.
Good afternoon, beautiful people. Hope you're doing well. I want to start off today's show because we have a lot to talk about. One specific thing is that we were being primed for essentially a takeover of our free speech here in this country. So let's explain what I mean by priming. Well, first off, priming is a term that we use in the user experience space when we're designing digital products or designing a service for our users. We make sure to implement visual language or visual cues throughout a user's journey that will kind of signal in their brain by the time they get to the end of that user journey that they should take an action on a specific item or a specific screen. And this is what they do. The technical jargon is subtle visual or verbal suggestions help users recall specific information, influencing how they respond. Priming works by activating an association or representation in users' short-term memory just before another stimulus or task is introduced. I use this in my own work, is to really help someone understand how they use a product or how they use a service to help their lives get better and allow the service to improve their lives. That is how you use this for good. But lately, in our media landscape, I'm starting to see the left-leaning politicians in our media using this specific tactic to prime Canadians to be accepting of us losing our free speech in this country. What do I mean? We'll start off with Elizabeth May here, shall we? Probably saw this clip, said, over a month ago?
Yeah, I really can't stress how much I dislike her. Yeah, it's just like, every time she talks, I want to hit something. I really do. I'm not saying I want to hit her. I want to hit something. This woman is so clueless. She is so out of touch. I really do believe half the time she is drunk. I know that's a conspiracy theory, but just look at her.
Or so now, where she goes off on Elon Musk and, talks about the platform X.
Our solution in the Green Party is we as Canadians and our government should say there's no such thing as a platform. You're a publisher. And Meta and Twitter and X and all of them would have to abide by the jurisprudence of hundreds of years of a publisher's responsibility for what they publish. And the anonymous and rule-free world in which social media operates could end simply and quickly, but of course Parliament would have to be in session, to say, in Canada, we don't recognize something called a platform. You've invented this term for yourselves so that you can, as profiteering transnational corporations, interfere in our lives and harvest our lives to make money for yourselves.
Isn't that exactly what the Liberals, the Greens, and the NDP have been doing for the last decade in Canada for themselves? They haven't given a shit about Canada or anything. They just pass laws so that they make money. They make profits for themselves, not for Canadians. And she's also she's calling it platform, but what she's saying is she wants censorship. This is what it's about. Censorship. If they don't control the narrative, they want that narrative gone.
Threatening our democracy, threatening our journalism. So you're publishers, and we're not going to censor what you publish, but if someone wants to sue you, you'll be responsible for the words you publish, regardless of whether it comes from a foreign bot or a Canadian citizen.
So you catch that right there, right? We're not going to censor you. We're just going to sue you and essentially apply lawfare to you to influence what you say or what you do. It doesn't matter if it's a Russian bot, she says, or a Canadian citizen. We will do that. You can see that from classic Lizzie May over here. That's a classic thing she would say or do. But again, that's just the start. That's just the beginning. We have The Star, which is an opinion piece. This was one of the more recent pieces, March 8th. Why Canada should seriously consider banning Elon Musk's X. With mounting evidence that Twitter and X are manipulated by its owner to promote divisive, prejudice, and even imperialist ideas, Industry Minister Champagne must consider its role in our national public conversation. Champagne should look to arguments made for the banning of TikTok to evaluate whether Twitter serves Canada's best interests.
Okay, TikTok, the whole thing about TikTok is it's a security concern. It's got nothing to do with opinions, which is what the argument is about Twitter. And again, I'm not on Twitter, but they're trying to say that you having your own opinion is a security risk. Last I looked, we were a democracy and we were allowed to have our own opinions. But they're saying, and there's a reason why the Toronto Star is called the Toronto Red Star. Its legitimacy as a newspaper died 20 some years ago, maybe even longer. It just panders to the radical alt-left wing now of Toronto.
Debates in both American and Canadian policy circles have spotlighted TikTok as a national security threat. Critics warn that the app, which is almost certainly connected to the Chinese Communist Party, could sway public opinion and undermine national cohesion. These concerns prompted discussions about banning TikTok to protect democratic institutions from foreign interference. When we examine Twitter through a similar lens, the parallels are striking. If a platform's ownership or operational influence originates from an adversarial state, it becomes inherently suspect. That's just another, again, it's an opinion piece from the Star, but again, they're putting it into the ether. They're putting it in our media cycles. Ideas to think about, they say. We look at from February 3rd. Should Canada ban X and Tesla? Why calls are growing? As U.S. President Donald Trump and Elon Musk may take aim at Canada, some high-level observers are calling on the federal government to consider sanctioning or even banning corporations owned by those close to Trump, much as it did with the Russian oligarchs after the invasion of Ukraine. We better have a report growing up on American influence. Former Foreign Affairs Minister Lloyd Axworthy said at a recent panel discussion, he's told the January 27th event held by the Canadian International Council that he's increasingly worried about meddling in Canadian domestic affairs by Musk, a social media mogul and the world's richest man.
Okay, maybe I missed the memo, but what exactly has Musk interfered with in Canada? I can't think of a thing. Every complaint I hear about Musk is because he's connected to Trump. But, you know, we know Mark Carney is connected to Giselle, what's her name, Epstein's handler. So does that mean we should charge Mark Carney without any evidence? I mean, I think Carney has to explain why he went to Epstein Island so often and why he was friends with Epstein and Giselle Maxwell, I think it was. But saying he needs to explain it and then just banning him, that's two completely different things. So I don't know what Musk has done that meddles in Canadian domestic affairs. I can't think of a single thing.
And he added that other owners of big digital platforms could undermine Canadian democracy. So again, that's February 3rd. And we have March 7th, the Tyee says X threatens our democracy. Canada should ban it. Again, you're kind of catching this theme of priming that's been happening since January from politicians. Elizabeth May, we showed here, Jagmeet Singh has been putting out similar ideas. And then you have the CBC here. The U.S. has covertly destabilized nations. With Canada, it's being done in public. Former senior Canadian intelligence officials say Canada needs to be on the lookout for campaigns aimed at destabilizing the country amid U.S. President Donald Trump's escalating 51st state threats. And they told the CBC News that the most potent weapon wielded by the Trump administration to advance the cause of annexation would likely not be the intelligence agency's director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. I would regard Mr. Musk as a problem, said Ward Elcock, who headed CSIS for a decade, including the 9/11 attacks, and also served as national security advisor. I think that's on a number of fronts. The U.S. Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA, has worked to destabilize many governments and nations in the past. using methods as mundane as corruption, as drastic as assassination, but the former spy chiefs say a campaign aimed at Canada would likely rely less on cloak and dagger tactics and more on social media, such as the Elon Musk-owned X platform. He doesn't say things that are not true. Yeah, CIA's done some sketchy stuff in the past. It's been quite...
Yeah, the CIA, that's a completely different story. A lot of their stuff has come to light. He said it right. They've done some really sketchy stuff. But again, not to defend the CIA, I really do think, and have thought for a long time, CIA needs to be held accountable. Like, I mean, they've run drugs, they've done assassinations, like all of this is public knowledge. So at a certain point, they need to be held to account. The US needs to be held to account. But that's not what they're talking about here. Basically, they're saying that the US is doing a propaganda war on Canada, and to a certain degree, they are doing that. But they're doing it through social media. Well, one of the reasons they're doing it through social media is because our mainstream media is doing a propaganda war for the liberals. So you're complaining about these guys doing the exact same thing that you've been doing for the last 2 decades, 3 decades. Like, that's hypocrisy.
Questionable. But again, more rhetoric, more media, more stories coming from the CBCs, the Globals, the Star, our political officials saying we should look at banning or quelling voices on social media. Because I do.
And again, he's pointing this out, but all of these places, they get part of that $600 million slush fund from the liberals to carry the liberal water. They are propaganda outlets. They are not, the CBC, CTV, these are not media outlets anymore. They are propaganda outlets. And the sooner people realize this, the better Canada will be.
I do find it interesting, right? How I didn't hear a thing, never heard a thing from the Liberals, from the NDP, from the Greens, I mean Elizabeth May, about quelling the voices on X or on Facebook when they had a more left-leaning slant, or they are run by liberals, or the fact-checking was run by liberals. I didn't see any complaints then, but all
100%. I tell a famous story in my circle, and I got fact-checked by the liberal fact-check. Now, one thing you got to understand is Facebook, what's his name? God, I can't remember the guy's name now. Zuckerberg. He got rid of the fact checkers in the US. They're gone. They don't serve a purpose anymore. But we still have fact checkers in Canada because they're employed by the liberal government. They're not employed by Facebook. They are employed by the liberal government. There was a report done, I guess it would have been about 4, maybe 5 years ago, where they went and looked at who these independent fact checkers were. They're fucking kids in Quebec, just out of their parents' basements. Those were the fact checkers. They were just pushing it. So anyway, I made a funny post. Well, actually, I just reshared it. It was a picture of a dinosaur building the Egyptian pyramids. And the caption was, photographic evidence that aliens did not build the pyramids. Now, anyone with any rational common sense knows this is a joke. First off, the dinosaurs did not exist during the ancient Egyptian time. Cameras certainly didn't exist to take a photograph of a dinosaur carrying a stone. Like, it was a joke. I got fact checked. It got hidden behind a warning. Fake information. I really don't know what bothered the fact checkers over this. I even appealed this and got denied that it was false information, and they warned me if I continue to share false information, I would be banned from Facebook. Okay, this was the liberals. Again, Zuckerberg has nothing to do with the fact checkers fact-checking Canadian accounts. This is the liberals. That's who hired these fact checkers. And yeah, it's just like, This is how relevant they are.
All of a sudden, some of these platforms are taking more of a down the center approach, maybe slant a little right at times. And all of a sudden, it's the end of the world. Huh. Now you're talking about shutting it down. You're shutting down voices, shutting down a democracy, shutting down freedom of speech. Platforms like X, even TikTok, people are getting real stories on. And I understand, sure, you can make an argument for foreign interference. However, this country's never really taken that seriously.
Okay, foreign interference. We know the Chinese have influenced our last 2 federal elections. There was death threats at a Conservative MP in Toronto for running. His family and him received death threats. The Liberals did nothing. They've done nothing. They're still doing nothing. All we ever heard from the CBC was Russia, but we haven't actually seen any evidence of Russia giving a shit about a Canadian election. I understand Russia would try to influence an American election to get a government that would be more in line with them or cooperative with them. But in Canada, sorry, we really don't influence the world stage anymore. Trudeau's pretty much guaranteed we're cut out of the international affairs other than when they want money. So, yeah, we had Chinese interference because China actually does have a vested interest in Canada. And yet we never hear about that. Nothing's ever done about that. So
when it's benefited them, but all of a sudden it's going against them, or a potential could go against them, or something that even optically looks like it could go against them. They're on it. Let's ban it. Because we even have the Supreme Court of Canada who moved away from the social media platform X. That happened as well. But then to kind of...
Okay, so in case you haven't been paying attention, and I find this one kind of funny because I have a buddy. He's a radical extremist alt-left socialist, NDP lover. Just loves the NDP. And he was complaining to me about a month ago that Trump was loading up Congress and loading up this and making it unfair. He never says a word about Trudeau doing the same for the Supreme Court and the Senate. Doesn't talk about it at all. It's absolutely okay to put the left-wingers in, but it's not okay for another government to put in people that they support. This is the hypocrisy of the modern day left in a nutshell. And that's what's happening with the Supreme Court is Trudeau has loaded up the Supreme Court. So it's not surprising they moved away from X. I guarantee you they're all on Blue Sky because Blue Sky is a radical alt-left platform for Twitter type users. Those mindsets. Like if you go on to, I've read reports online. If you go on to Blue Sky and you say there is 2 genders, you will be banned from Blue Sky instantly. They'll kick you out because they are only interested in being an echo chamber of radical alt-left extremist viewpoints.
Finish the cake off and bring credence to the concerns that people are having and the fact that these ideas are being pushed. We have Michelle Rebel Garner from her, I think it was like a 10-minute video she did, and this is one clip from it.
Big examples of what they're proposing to do and something that they're already doing. So a couple of weeks ago, a very senior liberal, he made this comment. He said, the federal government must make sure that they don't screw the thing up and make sure that we aren't denied our rightful place to make our own choices in the next election. What was he talking about? The platform X. He was saying that X should be banned in Canada. And that's becoming more and more of a topic of conversation among liberals. They're saying that an entire social media platform should be banned. And when you listen to that quote, what are they trying to say? They're worried that social media platforms that allow for discourse to happen will be banned so that they can have more control of the message. Now,
that was a concern. That's a concern they're having. You're hearing this messaging coming out more and more, and expect more of it as we get closer to an election here in Canada. Expect more of it. The priming will continue because Canadians just don't wake up one day and saying, I'm against free speech today. No, it comes through priming through media. It comes through priming through our political officials. And eventually, over time, you do enough of that over time. All of a sudden, people are in favor of things like this because they've bought into propaganda and a false message. Yep.
It's the old saying, if you repeat a lie enough and you believe the lie becomes the truth. We actually have heard Liberal members say this to the media. They support this. And that's what's happening with this whole thing. It's like, we don't want people to think for themselves. We want people to just consume our ideological message. And that's what it is, you know, it's like the old Simpsons cartoon. One of us, one of us, one of us. That's how they approach it. And that's so dangerous.
You know, because like if you ban X, like, you know what I'm saying? If you ban X and you ban voices on social media, then people like me can't bring stuff to you and laugh at stuff like this.
So anyway, that's what I wanted to show you, because to me, this is a very serious issue. I only started my YouTube channel 2 weeks ago, roughly. And it's an outlet for me to express my opinions, my ideas that I don't get to express. I live in Edmonton. Edmonton is filled with NDPers that they don't want to hear anything. So this is my outlet, but I don't want to lose this outlet. And that's what they've been talking about. And this isn't a new issue. It's just starting to get some more steam now. Like I say, Justin Trudeau has tried and floated the idea of banning all social media in Canada. Justin Trudeau wants us to adopt the Chinese or North Korean templates where everything you see is first sanitized, for lack of a better word, by the government. So you only see and hear what the government wants you to hear. And this is not a conspiracy theory. You can go look at North Korea, they practice it right now. Go look at China, they practice it right now. And everything Justin was pushing echoed those. And now he's out, but they're still pushing it. So, yeah, this is dangerous, and we need Canada to wake up on this. And that's all I got for this video. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. If you didn't enjoy the video, leave a dislike. Don't worry, I don't swing my cane very hard anymore if I dislike your comments. And as always, pew, 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 and shit. Thanks for watching. Bye.